Welcome to this week's edition of Bridge to Faith. I'm Yusuf Estes, and for the next little while we're going to be talking about faith, its advantages, why we need it, how to get it. Then we're going to go into a portion of our program called Arabic in English. Then after that we're going to come back and talk to someone about their particular bridge to faith. And by the way, while you're looking around out here, you might wonder what you're seeing. Well, we're going to find out about that too. All of that and more coming up right here on Bridge to Faith. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
There's an old guard tower up on top of the mountain there from the times when they were worried about defending their agriculture lands here down in the valley. There's greenhouses now, one of the biggest glass greenhouse projects in the Middle East. Up on top of the mountain here, there's a mud brick, they call it istiraha, or a rest house. It belongs to the princess. And as you pan across over, there's a really nice date orchard over there. And this is just a really beautiful valley here. Agriculture, livestock, and a beautiful place to live. Now this is a lot of agriculture, as I said, going on in the valley here. They grow fodder for their animals, mostly for the sheep farm. They have probably close to 3,000 head of sheep here. There's a lot of date trees you see as landscape the whole place all around, as well as official orchards. To the right a little bit, as we see, there's a big white hay barn. There's large amounts of grass hay and alfalfa in there for the stables, is what we're looking at now. There's a breeding farm for Prince Faisal bin Khalid. There's thoroughbred racehorse breeding farm where the stallions and the mares, the babies of course, are all born here. We'll go over there and take a look at some of the babies. But that's what you're looking at there, is the horse breeding farm, thoroughbred horse breeding farm.
You're watching Bridge to Faith. You might wonder, where's the bridge today? Well, there's more than one kind of bridge, isn't there? This is the bridge between humans and animals, and we're going to be talking about that today. So, in our visit, we're going to be talking to my friend Rogers, and it's not Roy Rogers. For some of you might know who that was. No, this is Dawood. His name was David, and his name in Arabic is Dawood Rogers. We're out here, and of all places, we're in a valley in the desert in Arabia. So that's what this is all about today. We hope that you'll stay with us and get an idea of something about some other kinds of bridges that we talk about in our Bridge to Faith. With me today on Bridge to Faith is my good friend Dawood Rogers. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
Nice to have you on the program with us.
Very nice to be here.
I wonder if you would tell us, in your own case out here, you're with these animals all the time, and you have, I'm sure, a relationship between you and the animals. Is that right?
Oh, very much so, A horse understands you right away. When you walk up, it's like shaking somebody's hand. If somebody shakes your hand kind of timidly, you can tell this guy's scared. If he's strong and confident, you can tell he's strong and confident. Horse can tell that when you walk up and touch him. He can tell that you know or you don't know, what you're doing somewhat. And there's a real relationship, and it builds up over time, gets deep. You can't imagine how subtle and soft and of gestures I can make to a horse and have him move around and stuff once we get a good relationship going.
Well, when I was saying earlier about a bridge, there's such a thing as a bridge between humans and animals as well. And I wondered, because this is what you do all the time, if you give us some sense of how animals start out in the beginning and then how they're influenced by their surroundings or parents and things, to kind of fill along with the subject I've been talking about, the fitra of the human being.
Yeah. Well, as we were looking, behind us here, you can see that these babies are raised up with their mothers, and they're influenced by their mother's behavior. If their mother is kind of skittish and afraid of people, the baby will be skittish and afraid of people. So they're very much, there's all the genetic makeup of what the father was like and what the mother was like, and that's what they're trying to do here is breed, high-speed racehorses. So their mother and their father were both of the bloodlines of good racehorses. So that's what they're hoping, the babies will get passed on to them.
Well, now, when we were talking about the nature of the animals, and you were also mentioning about horses being influenced by their mothers early on, it made me think of what the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessing be upon him, said, that the children, human children, of course, are born in this same kind of state, that they're naturally submitting to God, doing what God wants them to do, and it's later on that the influence of their parents cause them to be in some particular religion. Now, of course, with the animals, they stay in the right way all the way from the time they're born to the time they die. But at the same time, I was noticing about the influence parents have even on the disposition of the animals.
Yeah, no, very much. Of course, that's the famous hadith, that talks about how a person, a human, is born into a natural state. That if you were to leave him alone, he would naturally worship Allah alone, worship God alone. And that he's influenced this way or that to be Christian or Jew or Muslim or whatever it may be, and that we're products of our environment somewhat, So of course, in Islam, it's very important. The family unit is the center. So it's very important that we have a good, functional, holistic, healthy family life, because that influences the child to grow up, and parents that are God-fearing and that pray and that encourage their children to do so, because that's what influences a child in his life.
Makes sense to me.
Sure does. My little campfire circle here outside my house, and I have a sample here of a horse's hoof. This is a horse's hoof. You can see the shoe is still nailed on here. This is the hoof wall, and inside you actually have the coffin bone, the live part, when the horse was alive, the live part of the hoof. And that's his toe, actually, his one toe. And this is called a toe clip type of shoe. There's a little clip on the end there that kind of hold that shoe in place. And you can see how it's nailed on. The nail goes up through here, through the hoof walls, bent over and clinched down to hold it on. Sometimes they put 4 nails, and in this case there's three nails right there. This is called the frog, this little arrow type shape, called the frog of the hoof, and the sole of the hoof and the hoof wall.
Now, next thing we're going to do is show you what happens when we work with some of the other family, such as the pot-bellied family. These guys are fun. Remember Ha, this guy? Now Ha is the one that has the heavy H sound that you make when you're blowing on something. Ha, ha, okay? So we're going to use him and his brother Jim and his other brother Kaf. Ha. Ha, Jim, Ha. But now we're going to connect them up with other letters, and let's watch what happens. We'll begin with Jim. And what's going to happen now is he's not going to have the tail because he's going to continue in the word. So he doesn't get to keep that tail because he connects with his partner, whoever's coming up. So it's still the letter Ja, but now let's put an Aleph. So that's Ja. Ja. Now if we have a Ja and we connect with a Wow, it would become what? Ju. Because of the oo sound coming out of the wow. Ju. Ja, Ju. And you notice I'm adding the tashkil or the helpers there to remind you that this is like Fatah, which by the way looks a lot like the Aleph, doesn't it? Only leaning over on his side. That's where it came from. And this Dhamma looks a lot like wow, and that's where it came from. And now watch this. One more. And which one is it? Do you remember? What is this? Is it E? Yes. So this is Ja, Ja, and then Ju, and then G. And when you put the Kesra under here, that's how you can do that. Now let's take another one. Ha. But we're coming straight back so we don't drop his tail down. We'll give him the aleph, and he becomes ha. Let's do another one. Only this time, let's give him the wow, and he becomes what? Who. And now let's give him the ya, and he becomes what? He. It's not he, it's he. He. Let me hear you say it. He. One more time. He. That's it. Ha. Who. He. Now, do you remember the other H that we have in Arabic? What was his name? Ha. And all he is a circle, remember? Ha. But when he starts out a sentence or he starts out a word, look what he does. He puts his hand over the top of his head. Remember how he does that? How he does that? Puts his arm up over like like ha, ha, ha. And then in the middle, he can be like this. He can be like this. And at the end, he can be like that. So he's ha, 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 ha. Now I think he should be called the funny letter because he goes ha, 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 ha. You can look how many times he said ha, 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 ha in the same sentence. Now, guess what though? He can be funny another way too. He can not just say ha, ha, ha. He can also say he, because you can put kesser underneath it. Well, that's not all. What else would happen? Well, if you put duma over the top, you'd have who. Now, in this case, Mr. Funny here, the funny H, he winds up sounding like an owl. Hoo. It's a good chance for you to make some notes, too, by the way, that when you copy this down, you can back up the program and start again. When you copy this down, take your time and be sure you get it right. Here it is again. I'm going to put this up real big so you can see. There's the ha and the wow. Who. And then another one, followed by a ya, he. Another one, followed by what? An aleph. That's ha. So that's who. Put a little duma up there. He, we're going to put the kesser right there. And this one with the aleph, that's a ha. Ha, he, who, or who, he, ha. With me today is Dawood Rogers. Salam alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Now we're speaking some Arabic here, so and it's kind of obvious, even though we've got these big beards, that we're not a part of ZZ Top or or the Amish. So let's talk about your bridge to faith. Where did you start out?
Well, I'm from a